Welcome back. So now that we know how to import FBX files and even texture files into our project, what about the Marketplace tab, which contains lots of assets, and many of them are free? Well, in this video, we're going to learn how to get some of those assets into our project. And we're going to go straight to the free tab in the Marketplace. Because while, yes, you can spend money for some of these assets, it's important to at least see which free assets there are, as that can save you some money if something that you're looking for exists in the free collection. Now, I've already mentioned the free for the month. Check those out every month as those assets come out, because those won't always be free, so you might want to snag those while you can. But I'm going to jump on over to permanently free collection. There are lots of cool things here, and you may not understand what all of these asset packs contain, but I'm just going to browse through these until I find one that I think looks pretty cool. Now, all the way on page 5, I see this low poly hand-painted environment. I think this looks pretty cool, and I personally like it. Now, it may not be on page 5 for you because things are added to the free collection all the time. You can always search products for the name of an asset pack, but I like this one. Now, just a warning, sometimes things are added and removed from even the permanently free collection, so there's a slight chance that not all the assets that I see available in the permanently free collection are available to you. That just means you'll have to find something else that you like and use that. But I'm going to click on low poly hand painted environment. And as soon as I do, I can see some screenshots from this asset pack. There's a magnifying glass icon in the middle that I can click on to full screen that, at least full screen within the Epic Games launcher. And I can scroll through these images to see some examples of what the asset pack looks like so that I can make the determination as to whether or not I'd like to download this pack. I'm going to choose to download this one. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Notice it even has a rating. You can leave feedback for these asset packs, and you can see that this is free because there's a free button that you can click. You can also add this asset pack to your cart because not all asset packs are free, so you may just want to add it to your cart for later. And very important, to the right, we have supported platforms and supported engine versions. Now, sometimes the asset packs will not be updated to the latest Unreal Engine version, so you may wish to just make sure that the asset pack is supported for your engine version. And there are ways to get assets that are made for older versions into a newer version. And at the bottom, we see download type asset pack. Now, an asset pack is designed to be added to a project that you already have, that already exists. Some asset packs are projects themselves. So you download it, and it's its own .u project file that contains the assets within it. This particular one is an asset pack. Now, I can scroll down and see the description for the asset pack along with some technical details. If you're looking for asset packs that contain certain things like animations, the technical details will tell you if there are animations, and if so, how many animations there are usually. Here in the details, we see the texture size. It says most textures have this resolution, some have this resolution. It says that the meshes do have automatically generated collision, and we'll talk more about collision later in the course. We also have average triangle count. It says all models are low poly. That means the polygon count in each of the meshes is low. We also see that this pack contains 84 meshes, 92 materials, 202 textures. So this is a lot of content that we can download for free. So I'm going to go ahead and download this asset pack. Now, something to take note of when downloading asset packs. You're going to want to make sure that you have enough space on your drive. Usually there'll be some specs in the technical details if it's a large asset pack. This one is relatively small. Looks like they didn't contain the file size for it, but we'll see that once we download it. Now, to download it, I'm going to click right here on free. As soon as that happens, there's an option to add it to my project, but I'm not going to click on that just yet. I'd like to go over to my library. And here in my library, I can scroll down to the vault and look for that low poly asset pack. Now, I have a lot of things in my vault, so I may have a hard time just scrolling through and looking for it, but I can search my vault. I'm going to search for low poly. And here it is. It's called low poly hand painted environment. And I can add it to my project from here. Now, it's important to note that just because I have acquired this asset pack, that doesn't mean that it's taking up space on my computer just yet. I have to add it to a project before it starts taking up space on my machine. So you can add lots of things to your vault without filling up your machine. It's only once you start adding them to projects that you actually will start filling up space on your machine. Now, because this one is an asset pack and not a project, I can add it to a project. If it were an entire project itself, we wouldn't see the option to add to project. Instead, we would see create project. As you can see, some of the things in my vault say that because they are full-on projects. So if you're following along and you've chosen an asset pack from the marketplace, make sure it's just an asset pack and not a project at this point. We'll learn later how we can get assets from one project migrated over to another project. But for now, we're just going to take our asset pack that we chose and add it to our project. So I'm going to click Add to Project, and I can search for my project. I'm going to search for Section, and here's my Section 1. Now, if your asset pack is not compatible with the version that your project is created in, you may not see it. But you can check the checkbox that says Show All Projects, and it will show even the projects that are not compatible with your asset pack, and you can choose them anyway. Now, this pack is compatible with 5.3, which is what my Section 1 project was created in, so I can click Add to Project. As soon as that happens, now we see the progress bar going, and if I look at downloads, we can see some stats during the downloading of that pack. So now we're starting to use space on our computers. As soon as it's done, we can then open our project to see that asset pack inside. So I'm just going to pull up my section1.u project and open it up. And once back in the editor, I can open my content drawer, and I'll see that I have a new folder called Hand Painted Environment. That's just the folder that the creator of this asset pack created. They just called it that. Now, asset packs can contain lots of different things. In the case of this asset pack, it's convenient that they have just a maps folder here because now we can take a look at any maps that are contained within this asset pack. I'm going to go to Overview Map, and I see that there's a map called Overview. I'd like to take a look at that, so I'm going to double click it to go to that map. Now, when you open a new map, especially one that you've downloaded from the asset pack, it may take a while to load, and you'll see a Preparing Shaders pop up. And depending on the assets themselves, it may take a while to prepare those shaders. But once it's done, you can now see the assets, and the overview map just shows the different assets contained in this pack, and they're laid out right here on a gray platform. And this is a nice way to just kind of see all the different things just out here next to each other, and you get a feel for just how big or how small the asset pack actually is. But what's going to blow your mind is when you see a demo level created with these assets. This is a relatively small number of assets, but a small number of assets can be combined to create a relatively large looking level. And generally asset packs come with demo maps showcasing just what you can do with these assets. I'm going to go back to maps and double click on Summer Scene. Looks like there's a Summer Scene map. I'm going to go to that and see what that looks like. Now I'll give it a few moments to prepare the shaders, and now I can take a look at what this map looks like. And as you can see, it's quite large. There's a lot of things here. And this was created using this asset pack. So that's pretty nice. This is a good example of a level. And if you don't feel like taking the time to create an entire level, oftentimes you can just take the demo level that was created for an asset pack and either use that or change it around. All of these are, of course, meshes that you can click on. You can select them, you can move them, transform them, do whatever you want to customize this level however you like. Pretty nice. Now, if you want to full screen the viewport, there's a handy shortcut for that. It's F11. That's going to full screen the viewport. So now we can kind of take a look at how it looks in all its glory. I'm going to hit F11 to come back out of full screen. And let's see what happens if we just start a Pi session here. I'm going to press the play button. And now I can engage. And it looks like I'm maneuvering around, presumably as the default pawn. And this gives us a bit of a feel for what it's like to at least fly through the level. And you can see that we may collide with certain objects and not collide with others. And that tells us which objects have collision information. I can't go through this tree, apparently, but I can go through some of these other trees. So this gives us a feel for which objects have actually been equipped with collision data. So this is great. I now have a pretty nice looking level. And if you downloaded this same asset pack, you can take a look at that other level. It's called Winter Scene, and move around in that and take a look at that. Now you may notice some text at the top of the viewport, and you may not understand what those messages mean. The first message says world composition is deprecated. Consider converting to world partition. World partition is a new feature in Unreal Engine. And the other message says multiple directional lights are competing to be the single one used for forward shading. So it looks like there were a couple of things done when creating this level that are now no longer compatible with Unreal Engine in the latest version. So in the Epic Games launcher, when it said compatible with 5.3, well, that might have been a little bit of a stretch because it's not fully compatible, as there are a couple things that have changed in the engine that don't allow for what this asset pack is doing. But that's okay because we can still use the asset pack and fly around in it. It's not broken in a sense that we can still start a Pi session and take a look at it. But the important thing is that we have the assets. Now, the fact that it has multiple directional lights, well, we can take a look at the outliner and we can search for directional light. We see that there are two of them. Let's take a look at this second one. Let's hit the eye icon to hide it. Okay, here's what it looks like without that second light. Could we live without that one? Sure, maybe we could. We could simply take that second light and delete it. And now if we press play, well, that message is gone. We solved that problem. Now, world composition is deprecated means that this level is using something called world composition. Now that's deprecated, right? That's a setting that we can go to world settings to disable. Let's search for world comp, and here it is. Enable world composition. It says what it does, enables tools for compositing a tiled world. Level has to be saved and all sublevels removed before enabling this option. Well, if we uncheck that, we're no longer using that feature, and if we press play, that error is gone. So we're now no longer violating those conditions that generate those error messages, and we have this nice, beautiful level. It looks great. Okay, so now that you know how you can download an asset pack and add that to your project, it's time for a challenge. I'd like you to download an asset pack if you haven't already. Perhaps you followed along with me and perhaps even used the same asset pack that I downloaded for your project. If you already have, that's fine. If that's not the case, if you didn't follow along, go ahead and get yourself an asset pack added to your project. And then I'd like you to take some of the assets from that asset pack and add them to your basic map. So perhaps after you've taken a look at any maps that may exist in your asset pack, go back to your map in your maps folder and drag in a couple of assets from that asset pack. You're going to need to dig around in the folder and find out where those assets are. Typically, there will be a folder called meshes. Sometimes it's called models, but you should be able to get your hands on some static meshes, and you know how to get them into your scene. Just click and drag and get some of those assets into your level and decorate it a little bit, make it look nice. Now, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this, just get a little bit of practice dragging in new assets from an asset pack and just seeing what they look like. However, if you do feel like designing a whole level and going all out, by all means, take the time to do that as well, but just get comfortable with the process of getting assets from the marketplace and using them in your own level. So pause the video here and do some decoration. Okay, so now that we have some practice with decorating our level, we've got a couple assets in here. Mine is not looking like a complete level by any means, but I do have a couple things in here that looks pretty nice. Really, this exercise was just for practice, and now that we've got that practice, we're ready to move on. Excellent job, and I'll see you in the next video.